gentlemen, boys and girls around the world, it is once again time for the Wadcast. That's right, writers, actors, directors. The podcast that covers all of that, plus every position on set in between that brings you all of the content that you love. I am one of your hosts over here on the East Coast. I'm Josh. Over there on the West Coast is the guy that...
What's up?
You know, I'm so glad that our Facebook Live listeners got to hear you say that, because since I wasn't expecting you to so rudely interrupt my introduction of you, I had not unmuted your microphone for the podcast listeners.
Well, I mean, what did we learn? There's a reason why a lot of my friends that have kids, if I call them and they have me on their speakerphone in the car, they inform me that, you know, well, they pretty much like they switch to the earpiece for the most part because they know that I'm going to say something or whatever. Yeah. So it's cool. I'm used to it.
That is absolutely fair.
Josh, how has your week been since our Thanksgiving special where I dipped out on you early because I had to work the next day at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Well, you know, it's been a week. Same old. Nothing really changes. I have started watching the new Animaniacs, and boy, are they zany.
I actually have not caught it yet. You and I spoke about Saved by the Bell on the phone earlier this week, I believe.
Yeah.
And you know, I watched the first episode. I watched the whole episode. I usually would be well within my own state of mind to turn it the hell off 5 minutes in, but I figure, you know what? It's boring to me. It kind of sucks, but I will give it a shot. I will swallow, you know, my critiquing of some. Just watch the show. I'm good now. I'm good. Can't do it.
Well, I do believe I told you specifically, hey, this one's probably not for you.
Well, it makes me question my taste as a kid because it seems to follow pretty much the same formula as the original Saved by the Bell, but it goes over the top by, like as you put it, like actually making fun of the original Saved by the Bell. Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those shows that, I mean, I guess kind of like Fuller House, like and how I mentioned that on the phone. I guess you had to really, really, really want to have that nostalgia. Yeah, I just don't have it. I'm not a nostalgic person. I just have good taste.
Oh, you're such an awful human.
And I'm humble.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff goes directly over your head if you didn't watch the original series. Like, if you're a teenager and you're listening to this show, I mean, cool.
I will say this: the lead character. I'm sorry to cut you off. The lead character. One thing you said that I kind of laughed at when you said it on the phone was the old school AT&T cell phone, where she's like, "My mom says I can only have this because you can't take nudie pictures with it," and then she says something to her mom about, like, you know, she's trying to print the posters up in the first episode for the class president posters, and she says that, or I'm sorry, her pictures for the poster, and she says, "Mom, we need a computer." Like, she's like, No. You just take nudie pictures with it. Like, man, that is a very untrustworthy. Like, it makes you wonder: did the character do that before?
Maybe,
because like it's pretty much directed at her in a way that a parent would say something to a child if that child had been caught doing it. So
I took it more of a she heard that other people do it and she doesn't want her kids to do it.
She doesn't say that, though. She just says flat out, like, you can't do this. It's like, I caught you before.
So you think she falls under the awful notion of labeling people that go to Douglas High?
You know, it's always the clean-cut ones, I'm telling you right now. It's always the clean-cut ones that do that get into, like, the more kinky stuff.
It was definitely one of my favorite aspects of the show. And what I was going to say was, yeah, they have the new characters there for the teens to play out like a teen show, but the teachers and governor of all things, that might be a little out of their depth if they didn't see the original series. Like when they freeze frame in a certain episode and then the freeze frame ends and they're like, oh, so yeah, like normally this whole thing would be done by now.
Well, it's like the other thing I think is interesting is that Zach Morris's son, like it's like one of those deals where preppy was a term that AC Slater used for Zach Morris in the original series, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was because AC Slater was not preppy at all. No. With him, he just wasn't. So it's one of those deals where, what do you call it? Sorry, 1 second. Let me like something throws up here. Okay, so it's just like basically for the cheerleader to come out of nowhere and be like, oh, well, okay, preppy. Like, well, aren't you kind of preppy too? You stuck up bitch. Like, I mean, yeah, you guys are fighting over a parking spot.
Which, by the way, I did love the resolution to that.
I know, for the bus. And I'm just saying, like, well, even then, is that the only parking spot in that entire section of the parking lot that the school bus can fit to drop off the kids? How big? Like, I mean, what is it, like a VIP'd off parking spot?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. I did not know that.
The idea for the resolution, spoiler alert for the new Saved by the Bell, 3 people want to run for class president. Zach's kid, what's-her-face, and the other what's-her-face. One of them wants to do it for the right reasons. You know, I want to help students. I want to make sure that, you know, kids from where I live get representative in the student government, blah, blah, blah. Zach and the other kid just want the parking space that comes with it. So they wage this, like, war, a la Saved by the Bell. And at the end, they learn a valuable lesson, and they throw the election to the girl that wants to do it for the right reason. And at the end of the episode, Zach and the other girl, God, I just can't remember her name right now. They say, we learned a valuable lesson, and then talk about the lesson they learned. And they're like, and we've decided that we'll share the spot. And the newcomer's like, no. Basically throwing out the whole Saved by the Bell resolution and giving it a bit more of a modern take, and definitely turning the camera on itself in a way that's like, your solutions are not realistic, and they come from a very privileged place. So it was nice to see that this new Saved by the Bell is not, you know, cookie cutter happy endings.
Yeah. It's just one of those shows. Like I said, I you know, it's definitely, it's got a demographic, and that's clearly, okay. Well, I'm just going to say what I was going to say. Clearly, I have outgrown that demographic. I don't mean that as an insult towards you. I was already going to say it before you said it's me. So,
does this mean you're not going to watch Animaniacs?
I will watch Animaniacs because I'm a fucking grown-ass adult. Clearly, I'm the demographic.
And by the way, I'm going to issue this trigger warning now to anybody thinking about checking out Animaniacs.
Oh, God.
If you're a conservative, don't cry.
I actually know a few people that have already gotten very offended by Animaniacs on the more conservative spectrum. I'm like, dude, do you not remember the... Well, even then, well, yeah, no, okay, like, somebody said something about like I forget what the joke was that they posted. I have to go look for it, and I really don't feel like doing that. But I told them, it's like, did you watch the original? Oh yeah, I loved it as a kid, but it wasn't dirty then. It's like, you don't remember when they were playing detectives and they tell them to, like, find fingerprints, and Dot pulls out prints and they're like, no, fingerprints, and she looks at him and looks back at them. It's like, no thanks. Do you know that never happened? Yes, it did.
Yeah, well, it really did. Can you find prints? Yeah, here he is. No, fingerprints. No.
That's what it was. Can you find prints?
Oh, that was.
Oh God.
So
bad.
So bad. And there's still a lot of this, and I'm watching it. I'm like, ooh, wow. And as far as political stuff, they made many political references back in the day, and it was always more of a, I don't know, not so much fight the power as, make fun of the power.
Yeah.
No, there were no idols.
Oh man. Well, it's like, no, but it's like, well, let's. I mean, there's all kinds of shows that have been making resurgences over the years, coming back in different ways, and even like recently, I don't know how they're going to do this. I'm actually very curious now because it's already been brought back before, but they're talking. It's in talks, I believe, for America's Funniest Home Videos to come back. What cracks me up with this is that the last time it was refashioned and remodeled and pretty much rebooted, YouTube still was not around. Facebook, I think MySpace was in its early stages, possibly, but at the time, there wasn't what's available today. So I'm thinking, like, how are you going to have a show of funny clips when people have YouTube? Like, I get it could be successful, but there's a lot of competition right now, and there's just all kinds of shit that I don't know. There's all kinds of things that are out right now that kind of pull away from that stuff. But you've had other shows like we mentioned, Fuller House. We have Saved by the Bell. What do you call it? We have Animaniacs, DuckTales, which I've got to say, I didn't have high hopes for it. I binged the shit out of the new DuckTales.
Yeah, just binge watch the whole damn thing. They cannot reboot America's Funniest Home Videos.
Why not?
Because it has never left the air.
I thought America's Funniest Home Videos. I'm talking about bringing it back the way it used to be, though. Has it? I thought it went off the air.
No, it's been on for 31 years, and it's been hosted by Carlton, Alfonso Ribeiro for the last 5.
Then I have to go back. I have to look. What do you call it? I have to look at I guess, what it was that I was looking at, because it might have been America's Funniest Videos, or it might have been that America's Funniest People. That was it was funny, the show that came out to rival America's Funniest Home Videos, and it was hosted by the guy that co-starred with the host of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Okay.
I have to go back and I have to go back and look at this. So,
hey, Brandon, you want to see something cool?
Sure.
Okay, this is going to be smooth as butter. Now, all of these things that we've talked about are things that have either come out or will be coming out this year. But you know what? There are a lot of things that haven't come out this year, and things that we were really looking forward to. So that brings us to tonight's, kind of topic of conversation. What did we miss out on in 2020?
Oh, that's right. That's right. We actually do have a show to operate here, don't we?
Yeah, we like totally told people about it and everything. It's in the show description. It's a thing.
Well, I mean, there's been. I feel like my biggest thing is Ghostbusters. Obviously, like I said before, I should already own Ghostbusters Afterlife on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out July 10th. It's been pushed back to June 11th of next year.
Yeah, I was so pissed off about that. Like, I mean, I got super stoked after that, Abomination in 2016 that I had to sit through. That Danielle begged me to turn off about 20 minutes in.
Danielle begged you to turn it off.
No, Danielle can't stand it. She wants nothing to do with it.
Interesting.
And no, that's the whole thing. Like, the whole big thing with Ghostbusters Answer the Call was, if you don't like it, you're a sexist. You hate women. Like, oh well, what if women don't like it? Oh well, that's okay because they're women. Like, well, no, whatever. Either way, we won't get into that because I can go off on a full-on thing about that. But yeah. I didn't see there's on this list that you shot me earlier that you texted me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that there was going to be a sequel to Hitman's Bodyguard.
Oh yes, the Hitman's Bodyguard's wife.
Is there a trailer for that?
Probably, maybe. It was supposed to come on August 28th of this year, but
I haven't seen anything on that.
The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard trailer.
I didn't see anything on that trailer at all. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that you would think that if it was expected to come out, that they would have already released a trailer at some point. And they may have. I just don't remember ever seeing it. The King's Man. No idea what the hell that is.
Have you seen the Kingsman movies?
Oh, is that like a third movie?
Yeah, it's a prequel.
Oh, okay. Well, then I never even heard it. Okay, cool. Oh, that's right. No, I did see that. That's it's the guy from the first movie back when he was getting into it, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. One man must race against time to stop history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds as they get together to plot a war that could wipe out millions of people and destroy humanity.
Okay.
They got pushed to February. Should have been out in September.
Minions: The Rise of Gru. I remember seeing that trailer. See, we lost a lot. We lost a lot of movies this year, actually.
See, I only grabbed like 20 or so of the biggest.
Yeah, well, let's just stick with this list because we could go on about this all night long. Because I actually have some stuff that I was thinking about over this, and I found my notes, by the way. I figure that while we were talking about this, we could also talk about the other methods at which studios are releasing their films. Because there's like a whole thing going on with that right now with different studios and some theaters being supportive of it and other ones not so much.
Kind of like Godzilla vs. King Kong. It was supposed to be out November 20th, coming out May 21st. But not only is it coming out May 21st in theaters, it's going to be released date and day for 1 month on HBO Max.
Yeah. Yeah, they're coming out with a bunch of what they call simultaneous releases. And a lot of there are theaters that are supporting this. Like you have theater companies that are actually saying, "Hey, this is a good idea." We need to, and the reason why I can see that they're supporting them is because of the fact that the old saying goes, "You never bite the hand that feeds you." These studios made these movies. They have to make their money back on them. Like, yes, movies are made for fans. They're made to be watched. These movies are movies that were made specifically for fans, to cater to fans so the studios can make some money while also hopefully telling a good story. But at the same token, you sit on these movies too long, you have the studios that want to make these. It's all a symbiotic relationship. You have the studios that want to make these movies. They're not making any money back, so money is like money in the tens to hundreds of, or even billions of dollars is flying out the window.
Mm-hmm.
and they're not recouping it because they're just sitting on these movies. And then you have these theaters that, like, what was it? Was it AMC? Was it AMC when the second Trolls movie was said to be released as a video on demand? I forget which theater it was, but I think it was AMC, and they said that they would no longer, they would never.
They won't be showing Universal movies.
No, that's what it was. That's what it was. Anything Universal, they would not be showing for the rest of, I guess, from now on. In protest of this, and I guess that, like, it was, I guess, safe to assume that maybe we would get back on track sometime this year, and these lockdowns would end, and the theaters would be back open and back for business, and kind of like AMC's gotcha to Universal. But now it's not just Universal; it's different studios that are doing this because it's got to be done. Something's got to give. But yeah, Black Widow, and like, what are you going to say to Disney? Disney's I was like, no. It's like, what if Disney were to release these on like Black Widow on Disney Plus as a simultaneous release to theatrical release? Because Disney Plus did release I think Onward, because it was never released in theaters this year like it was supposed to have been. If I'm not mistaken, right? Onward didn't get a chance to go to theaters, did it?
If it did, it was very limited due to natural reasons.
But that was supposed to premiere during the whole, like before COVID took over, right? But then the COVID kind of threw that shit out the window. And isn't that what happened with Onward? Like, it was set to be released during a time that ended up being a lockdown or something like that, or a mass countrywide shutdown.
Yeah, I think it was right around that time. It was supposed to come out March 6th. That was right when theaters started shutting down.
Okay, so yeah. So, I mean, Disney released Onward onto Disney Plus. Theaters didn't say anything about that. Not a single theater, not even AMC. Nobody said anything about that. But like I said, what the hell are you going to say to Disney, right? Mulan. It was straight to Disney Plus, available for X amount of dollars, I think, with purchase or something like that. Not rental or anything like that. You had to buy the movie to watch it. Mulan was made to be released in theaters. It wasn't meant to be like a Disney Plus exclusive. But so moving on with your list here. Top Gun Maverick, this long-awaited movie. See, like, movies like this, I understand. Even Ghostbusters, to an extent, I understand it. Once you release these movies onto video-on-demand services, there's a good chance they're going to get pirated the second they're released. But yeah, Top Gun, this very long-awaited sequel to the original. Also starring, Tom Cruise is also in it, right? With Miles Teller.
In what?
Top Gun Maverick. That's got Miles Teller, starring next to Tom Cruise, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Oh, and just to piggyback on the Disney thing real quick. Disney and Pixar are releasing, what is it, Soul? Something like that?
Don't know, never heard of it.
It's the new Pixar flick.
Yep.
But that's being released on Disney Plus Christmas Day.
I will say this. I'm looking forward to seeing Wonder Woman, 1984, when that gets released. Let me see. You said it's called Souls?
Yeah. I think it's Souls.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Okay. Souls. I'm a Souls man. All right. Joe is a middle-aged band teacher. Oh, I'm sorry. Joe is a middle school band teacher whose life hasn't quite gone the way he expected to. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. What does this look like Inside Out, kind of, to me?
Because it's Pixar?
Yeah. Okay.
And
Let's see.
AMC did release a statement about the Warner announcement.
Oh,
And,
I'm sure they did.
Long story short, they're not happy.
Oh, no, I know. Well, AMC, like, I mean, you have Cinemark, Regal, like, the two other giants here. Cinemark and Regal are the two other giants next to AMC theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just flat out, I was like, no, let's do it. AMC's just pretty much being left in the dust by them. I mean, honestly, like, then what can they do? They can't do anything. It's not their choice. It is a business strategy.
I'm going to get your thoughts on this quote from Adam Aaron, the head of AMC. Okay, here goes. Okay. He says, "These coronavirus-impacted times are uncharted waters for all of us, which is why AMC signed on to HBO Max, exception to customary practices for one film only, Wonder Woman 1984, being released by Warner Brothers at Christmas when the pandemic appears that it will be at its height. However, Warner now hopes to do this for all their 2021 theatrical movies, despite the likelihood that with vaccines around the corner, the theater business is expected to recover. Clearly, Warner Media intends to sacrifice a considerable portion of the profitability of its movie studio division and that of its production partners and filmmakers to subsidize its HBO Max startup. As for AMC, we will do all in our power to ensure that Warner does not do so at our expense. We will aggressively pursue economic terms that preserve our business. We already commenced an immediate and urgent dialogue with the leadership of Warner on this subject. As this issue gets sorted out, we are nonetheless encouraged that vaccines protecting society at large against the coronavirus are very much at hand. So it is our expectation that moviegoers soon will be able once again to delight in coming to our theaters without any worry, viewing the world's best movies safely in our big seats with our big sound and on our big screens."
So you want my thoughts on that?
Yes.
I think it's pompous as hell. I understand the frustration. Like, I truly do. I get the frustration. I mean, it's a business. I mean, after all, like I said earlier, movies are meant to be enjoyed, but at its core, the film industry is a business. It is ran as such. If you have never, people listening to this, if you have never been on the inside of a film studio, it's not all green screens, cameras, and everything else. A lot of it is just people wearing suits. A large portion of it are just people wearing three-piece, very expensive suits making decisions, along with office workers, office clerks, managers, all that. I mean, it is a business. To me, walking into a movie studio lot is no different than me walking into, it's just like an office to drop off lunch to a friend. Like, I mean, you see the same stuff. You have to actually get to the stages to really see like some really cool stuff, and the backlots of those stages to see it. But they have to recoup this money somehow. And, movies don't make as much, granted, through on-demand services as they would being released en masse in a theater. However, again, they have to start, they have to get these movies out. People do kind of give up hope in seeing these movies and get frustrated and just say, forget this movie. It's like if you're going to a theme park and you're waiting 9 hours to go on a ride, you're going to get fed up and go on another ride. Now, unless you're like a massive roller coaster, like, adrenaline junkie. I'm not. I'm a pansy when it comes to roller coasters. But still, I would I would get bored. But then this begs the question: what does the future hold for movie theaters? Look at any re-released film, the classics. Cinemark is infamous for re-releasing classic films. They've re-released Gone with the Wind, things like Gone with the Wind, RoboCop, the original Yours, Mine, and Ours, the original Odd Couple, Ghostbusters. They've re-released these movies over the years. I've been to a few of these re-releases, and they go for a couple days. Every single showing each day, they are packed, almost maxed out of seats. I guarantee that, like, and also mixing in the nostalgia of people that just want to get back to a normal style life. They go see these movies in theaters because they want to. They want that experience. There's something about being in a movie theater, going to see a movie that you've been waiting to see, even if it's a movie you've already seen. How many times have you gone to see certain movies, Josh? You know, like let's say like the Avengers movies. You just do like a one and done, like, oh, that was great. I can't wait for the DVD to come out.
Yeah, basically one and done.
Really?
Yeah, movies are expensive, man. But I will see each and every one of them opening weekend at the theater. That's my thing.
But it's just like, my point is that when you go see a movie in a theater, it's a whole different experience on a whole nother level, because you're feeding off the energy of the people in the theater who are enjoying it, or even the ones that aren't enjoying it. You know, I mean, I can go see a movie with two of my friends, like I think the Saw franchise films. I got dragged out to most of them. And I would crack, because on one side, I would joke with a friend of mine about, like, you know, just like, I'd laugh at, like, how messed up some of the scenes were. Like, we're enjoying it. And then the female friend of mine that we grew up with is on my left, and she is shielding her face and covering her ears in horror. And we're both laughing at her, too. And you see it throughout the whole theater. You know, the entire experience of seeing things in theaters is just, you know,
that's
you don't have one like
what you said it is. It's an experience.
So, I mean, but that being taken into mind, you know, it's just the theaters will recover. They will recover. They said the same thing about the theater industry. You know, granted, we didn't have video on demand back then, but during the what was it, the pandemic that we had back in like 1918, they were saying the same thing. Oh, the theaters will never recover. The film industry is dead now. Like, no, it's on hold. And even now, the film industry is not on hold. The film industry is still booming. They're still filming. I think they just wrapped, what do you call it, the Batman. Ghostbusters, Jason Reitman took this time with Ghostbusters Afterlife of the delay to perfect his movie. And that's the other thing. You have some movies that have this rare chance. The directors have a rare chance to have some extra time with their project to make sure it is absolutely perfect in their eyes.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
something that they can be very proud of.
I don't want to hear any lame excuses about I had to meet such and such deadline. You know, normally it works because, more often than not these days, when it comes to like tentpole franchises, you're going to see a lot of studios put out a release date, you know, to kind of reserve that slot before a script is even written.
Yeah.
And as far as quality goes, it can be unrealistic to have a release date before you have a script and find it to be good.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, and I mean, even in like this screenwriting group that you and I are in on Facebook, you know, you had people on there saying, like, oh, well, it's a lockdown. Don't even bother sending your scripts out. I was like, no, this year is the year for any aspiring writer to push their shit onto a director or a producer and be like, hey, I want to make this film, and then have them get an answer back. These people they've been bored as hell. That time, I think, has kind of passed. But earlier this year would have been the time to do that. And I've read about a few examples of that happening. But the thing is these other movies that you've let's move on with this list here that you sent me. Because there are some actual. Let me open this up here.
There's a James Bond movie on here, No Time to Die. It was supposed to come out April 10th. Now, mind you, that's a crazy date, right? April 10th, 2020, James Bond was supposed to come out. But now it got moved back to April 2nd, 2021. This movie's done. Okay? The shutdowns didn't start until March. It was done. It's ready to go, but they're holding off on it for April. They specifically want it to be released in April. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. April Fools? I don't know. No idea. Do you have an answer to that?
No. It just seems like... I mean, they're pushing it back, a movie that's in the can. They're pushing it back an entire year when they could have easily released it sooner, because they didn't have, as far as I know, and it would be weird if they did have any kind of production issues due to COVID-19. Like I said, nothing shut down until March, and this was going to come out like a month later. Nobody's, doing last second filming 2 weeks before it's supposed to be. Well, occasionally you get a random pickup. I remember the post-credit scene in Avengers actually was filmed after the premiere and before the wide release. So, occasionally that does happen. But I don't think No Time to Die is going to be one of those movies where they're like, Hold on. We're about a month out from release, and we still need to get a couple more shots.
Well, see, and building off of that, let's look at a few of these films, because a few of these films, I guarantee, would do just fine as video on demand and re-releases. Okay, first off, Top Gun Maverick. Now, I get that Top Gun has its fan base, but Top Gun is a classic. People kind of get apprehensive over films that have, like, a long-awaited, I guess, resurgence, if you want to call that. Now, Ghostbusters Afterlife is one thing because, yes, it is a long-awaited resurgence. I mean, the last sequel in this now trilogy, soon-to-be trilogy of movies, took place in 1989, and I think was released in 1989. But, so it's been 31 years. 31 years since the last Ghostbusters film. But we had a movie that came out, Ghostbusters Into the Call, that came out in 2016, that a lot of fans were so devastated by, because they actually had some kind of hopes in the studio paying fan service, as opposed to waging war against them, right? So, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, it's just kind of like, the one thing I'm thankful for the 2016 movie is that it simply exists. Because of and I almost want to buy the movie and say, hey, thanks, Paul Rudd, you piece of shit. Like, I mean, you made my dreams come true, and you kind of fast track the studio to make something, better. But, like Minions, Rise of Gru. I get it. I mean, that's Pixar, right? Is that Pixar? Minions?
No, it's
or
Illumination.
What are they? Illumination. That's what it was. Illumination. Okay, so Minions. It's one of those movies where you've had so many Despicable Me movies, like
3,
and then even Minions did not. I'm just saying, like, tie Minions in with it. Minions didn't necessarily do that great at the box office. So they come back with Gru, but I guess how he met the Minions, or his story about, becoming the villain that he was with the Minions' help. Free Guy, there was a movie with Ryan Reynolds that got released, I think, straight on Netflix. And I get that Free Guy, that was a Netflix deal. But that movie on Netflix with Ryan Reynolds did pretty damn good. I forget the name of it, but it actually did pretty good. The Forever Purge. Do we really need another Purge movie? At this point, the Purge movies are like the Tremors movies. Just release the damn thing on video on demand. I don't think that the theatrical release of it. I think at this point, the Purge, the Forever Purge, will be riding the coattails of all the good movies, and like lines of like the nostalgia factor. Bob's Burgers, the movie. Okay, I get that one. I mean, the Simpsons movie did great in theaters. What?
I believe I have to correct us real quick.
What?
Minions had a budget of $74 million. You know how much it made?
100 million.
1.159 billion with a B.
Did it do that good?
Yeah, it crossed over into B territory.
Oh, okay.
That
so
shocks the hell out of me.
When you say you have to correct us, it's really, hey, dumbass. I've got to correct you real quick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you're the one that said it. Like, well,
but I'm being a team player, you know?
Oh, man. Hey, if we could bleep this out. Never mind. Okay, so either way, I was going to say F you, but we can't just like automatically bleep me out.
No.
Otherwise, I have a feeling you'd be doing that quite a bit.
I wish I had a bleep button. That'd be fun.
That would be hysterical. Just guess what we're saying. All right.
It'd be so random.
All right. So the Bob's Burgers movie. And like I said, I get that because The Simpsons actually did really, and The Simpsons movies, that kind of breathed new life into The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Like it kind of like revitalized the brand, because let's face it, The Simpsons at the time was not doing that great, and it picked up momentum after the movie, and momentum kind of went back down a little bit again. I mean, but it's been on for decades at this point. So what do you expect with The Simpsons? Like at this time, there's kind of like
2 years.
Yeah. Since you and I were little kids, buddy. Jungle Cruise. What is Jungle Cruise?
It is the Disney film based on the ride, The Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Danny Garcia, and others. Okay.
Well, if it's got Dwayne Johnson in it, it'll be fine. Infinite. I don't know what the Infinite is.
Infinite. Yeah, that's actually one that I didn't really know what it was at first, but then I looked it up and found that it was it's a new movie by Antoine Fuqua.
Okay.
I might have had to bleep myself on that one. Starring Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, God. Video on demand. All right, so moving on. Oh, well, I'm sorry. It's like Mark Wahlberg. I like him. Danielle hates him. But
This is the premise. The hallucinations of a schizophrenic are revealed to be memories from past lives where he obtained talents that he still has to this day.
Okay. Well, as long as he doesn't like try to be a serious actor in this movie, I think we'll be fine. Because we all saw what happened.
No.
Sorry. Listen. Exactly. I was going to say, we all saw what happened in The Happening. He took that role so he could get away from playing like, the angry whatever, and show how serious of an actor he was. And just, I'm sorry, he starts whispering to a plant in the movie, and he's trying to, he thinks it's going to be like a serious film. And I think what got him tricked into thinking it was a serious film is that, the director tricked himself into thinking it was a serious film. So Venom, that I think that's actually going to do really good. And but Venom is a movie that only got delayed by just a little over half a year. Some of these other entries, like the Forever Purge, Ghostbusters, Top Gun, these are movies that were delayed for like an entire year. So Venom, I think, will still be pretty good. I mean, it'll still have like the same like that thirst that people want to see this, and also see how Woody Harrelson's going to do playing a psychopath in a, again, in this as a serial killer. Death on the Nile. I've heard of it. I guess they're still trying to figure out the actual release date for that one. Halloween Kills.
It's the follow-up to Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? That's awesome. Okay. And Halloween Kills. I've been excited about this because, once again, we're talking about movies that, how like The Simpsons breathed new life into the franchise. Halloween, by completely ignoring every movie from Halloween 2 all the way up to Halloween Resurrection. Halloween, when it was released in 2018, I believe. 18 or 19? 19, right?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, when it was released a little while back, it garnered so much more interest because of how fresh it was. And what I respected about the, relaunch of Halloween was the fact that the script was so captivating. By Danny McBride, and I forget the other writer, but the script was so fascinating that it got Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter both to come back into the game. They get their interest back into it again. Because John Carpenter, a lot of people may not realize this, John Carpenter never wanted Halloween to be a franchise. Halloween 2, he wrote that only through having downing a 6-pack of beer. That's how he wrote Halloween 2. He was forced into writing a sequel. Not forced, but strong-armed into writing a sequel. But in his mind, Halloween the story was done. He had nothing more to say about the series. Nothing more to say about the character. The ending of Halloween where Michael Myers is gone and you hear the breathing, just like how they ended the new Halloween movie, where it ends with you hearing his breathing. The breathing is supposed to be symbolic of evil never dies. I'm excited for Halloween Kills because Halloween was such a great addition, a much needed addition to the series. And I'm looking forward to see what they do with Halloween Kills. Snake Eyes, I assume that's the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes that I don't really give a shit about.
Yeah, the G.I. Joe Snake Eyes. I do want to touch on this, though. Talking about Halloween Kills, it basically kind of triggered something in my brain, and hear me out. Mm-hmm. When I was, researching for tonight's episode, Halloween Kills, it came up on the list of movies pushed out of 2020 into 2021, and Halloween Kills takes the slot that the next Halloween movie was going to get, Halloween Ends. So that is probably going to be pushed to 2022. The thing that kind of sparked in my brain was, we were talking about No Time to Die and why would it be pushed to April. It's remembering that these studios do have a number of franchises, what they call, tentpole films, the ones that prop up the gear, essentially, with the big opening weekends, and everything got pushed back, essentially. So, rather than putting it someplace randomly, every release is supposed to be, and I do say supposed to be, set at a specific time of year. They look at whatever else is coming out that weekend. They set a release date to maximize the opening box office.
Yeah,
that's what they're going for. But so they don't put their big movies up against their other big movies. They don't put their movies, if they can, against any other, movie that might take ticket sales away from them. So, No Time to Die, probably, I'd say, we'll say fourth in line when it comes to next releases from the studio. So it had to be pushed back years so it could be the kind of king of the quarter for that studio. That's what I'm figuring anyway. So when we asked, why would they make it the next? Because they have other releases they have to get out the way first.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, on top of that, honestly, I think No Time to Die will be just fine because of the fact that I remember hearing all about people saying, "Well, I'm not going to go see this." Like, well, no, you will. Like, well, no, they're making James Bond a woman. Like, they're not making James Bond a woman. Just
female 007.
Well, I'm never going to go see this. Like, you will. Like,
I will.
Well, I'm just saying, like, these people are going to go see it because they're angry about it. It's like watching a horrific accident or seeing a horrific accident. Oh my God, I can't bear to watch. Oh, what's happening? You're going to watch. You're going to watch. You're going to be horrified. You're going to see all kinds of fun stuff. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just like so, I mean, moving on with your list, though. Let me see here. So, I want to kill Snake Eyes. Eternals, I was interested in that. I'm still interested in that. That was delayed for a whole year. Eternals, if I'm not mistaken, is the new Marvel film, right?
One of them, yes. Black Widow was also pushed back a year.
No, I know, but I mean, this is going into the next phase of Marvel films, right? The next two. Well, I think Spider-Man was Spider-Man Far From Home a new phase, or was that the end? I think that was the end of it, right?
That was the end of that phase. The new phase, I think, technically begins with WandaVision.
This is phase 5.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
So our big entry into phase 5, because I don't look at Black Widow as being a phase 5 movie. It may be if say Taskmaster, because he's the big bad in the movie apparently, if he isn't killed, but because Black Widow takes place in the past, spoiler alert, Black Widow's dead. So unless this is something that introduces a new character, I can see, and I know that there is a new character in oh God, I can't think of her name, the chick from Midsummer. She's in it. And what's his name from Stranger Things? He was also in Hellboy.
Yeah.
But I know that these introductions of the characters, I'm sure that they will probably make a resurgence in phase 5. So I get why this movie may be the kickoff movie, should have been the kickoff movie to phase 5.
Well, like I said,
Black Widow is...
WandaVision is the kickoff, and that comes out next month. And it's going to have apparently some lasting ramifications throughout the movies.
Well, see, WandaVision... I'm so curious if Wanda Maximoff becomes the new big bad of this entire franchise now.
That would be following into the House of M story, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. And the thing is what I heard about WandaVision from what Elizabeth Olsen was saying was that basically this movie deals with Wanda's mental illness that she has. Again, Wanda in the comic books, people again, if you're not a comic book buff, no worries, I'll fill you in. Wanda Maximoff is the daughter of Magneto, whose brother, Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff, who of course died in Age of Ultron. But with her, well, no, that's what I heard too. But the thing is that she has brought people back from the dead. She Wanda Maximoff is, I think, classified as as far as being a mutant goes, one of the most powerful mutants in the universe.
Yeah, she can literally bend reality to her will.
Yeah. So, like, with this, she's and I think that's the whole point of WandaVision. I think she's serious because Vision is dead, and this series takes place after all that, I believe, right? So, like, everything that you see with like Vision, all that stuff, these are things that are coming from her own personal powers. So, and I will say this: I was excited about this when I saw the trailer, and you see both Vision and Wanda in their comic book accurate costumes, and you see how cheesy they both look. Well, why don't they have their comic book costumes?
Take on Bewitched.
I think so, but that's what I'm saying. Is like you hear people say, like, well, they should have their comic book accurate costumes. Like, well, be careful what you wish for, because what looks good in a comic book does not always look good on screen. Except for Christopher Reeve's Superman, he still made the costume pretty damn badass, and also Ben Affleck's grittier Batman with the Dark Knight Returns style costume. That was actually a pretty badass costume. I still think that Ben Affleck's costume is probably one of the more badass costumes that we've ever seen on screen.
Agreed.
My thing is Michael Keaton's Batman Returns costume, followed by Ben Affleck's costume, followed from there by Christian Bale's Batman Begins costume. The Dark Knight Rises costumes, I never really cared for those ones. I think they kind of look stupid. But, yeah. So, moving on. Godzilla versus King Kong. And this is another one. That's actually not delayed too far. Now, that's, of course, granted if the theaters are open by May. If people stop being a bunch of dumbasses.
Well, remember, it's coming out on HBO Max.
Yeah, I know. And West Side Story. Danielle has been excited about this.
Me too.
And the thing is, I remember seeing in the trailers and everything else, if you watch the trailers, if you've seen either the movie or the play or whatever, if you've seen these things and you watch the trailer, you know the whole movie. You know the whole thing. The trailer tells you the entire movie. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure that most people are going to go see it.
His grandma died. Huh?
I'm not sure most people are going to go see it for the fresh take, so much as it's Steven Spielberg doing West Side Story.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like Phantom of the Opera from 2005, Joel Schumacher's version.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, I had not seen the Broadway show yet. When I saw the trailer, I went to go see the Broadway show like the next day because I was at a movie theater with my fiance at the time. I was seeing a movie with her. We see the trailer for Phantom of the Opera back in like 2004 because like they put trailers out like a few months before the big release. And then we went to go see Phantom of the Opera the next day. So it was just kind of coincidental. And while I'm watching this, when we're leaving the theater, she and I are looking at each other and we're like, wow, we saw that entire story in the trailer that we watched. And it just became like a topic of conversation about movie trailers and everything else. But I will say Godzilla vs. King Kong, my God, dude. I think that the last Godzilla movie was a little subpar. Like, I mean, let's face it, no one really sees a Godzilla movie to keep up with the Days of Our Lives style drama amongst the humans. They just want to see monsters tear shit up.
Yeah, basically.
But the mom in the last movie, for a scientist, completely lacked any and all logic. Nothing in that movie needed to happen. They literally wrote her as a stupid character to further the plot. That was it. Oh, well, we lost our son in, the battle of whatever, and so now humans are the disease. We have to let these creatures roam free and whatever. Like, what? What? Why would you do that? Instead, she's worried about her daughter, and she's releasing monsters that would probably kill her in a heartbeat. Like, what?
I don't know if I saw that one.
Oh God, the monster fights are pretty cool. I will say the monster fights were cool, just like they were cool in the first Godzilla with Godzilla and the whatever they were called, the mutant things. But beyond that, I don't know. Now, like King Kong, or I'm sorry, Skull Island, I believe was the movie he appeared in with Loki and Captain Marvel. But that was actually pretty good. And apparently, that was King Kong when he was still considered a not a juvenile, but a young adult. And in the new one, he's, I guess, it's decades later, apparently, or something like that. It's got to be.
Yeah, it's King Kong when he was into R.L. Stein and not Stephen King.
Yeah. This King Kong snapping his fingers listening to Bop. You can actually see that in the movie while he's fighting, while he's walking through the hills, like, when all the helicopters are zooming up on him and everything, they see King Kong for the first time. If you pay close attention, you can hear him grunting this, like the music from Bop while he's clicking his finger.
All right, you super talented listeners out there, I want you to hit me up at Skit Comic and have Bop edited into King Kong footage. This is something I have to see now.
Bop, bop, da, do, bop, bop. I don't know the words to the song, Bop. Now it's in your head, Bop. You're gonna listen to this song all night. You'll have nightmares. Can you tell me? Oh, no, you can't. Oh God, I'm going to piss everyone off at work on Sunday because I'm going to be singing that song.
I remember when Hanson first came out, and I was like, "Are those guys?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, so you have this coming out, and then you have, but like going back to the effects of things on the theater side of things, I'm curious what they're going to start doing, because you're going to have these movies coming out. These theaters are not going to open to the general public completely at 100% capacity.
Unless you're in Florida.
So, unless you're in Florida. Sorry to our listeners in Florida. It's my home state. I love you guys, but you guys are a bunch of dumbasses. But the thing is that... Oh, I'm sorry. Now let me rephrase that. You're just not afraid, America. But the thing is still, when these movie theaters open back up, can you imagine the lines? And you have AMC freaking out over this shit. Like, you will be fine. Just offer more showings. I guess I don't want to say fewer films, but you're going to have to do something. And you have these grand-sized multiplexes that have 20 to 30 screens in them in certain parts of America. But
maybe stay open for 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, maybe splurge a little bit, spend money to make money.
I would definitely be down to seeing like a 3 a.m. showing of something.
I would be down to go to, you know what, Danielle, my girlfriend just watched American Werewolf in London recently. And I remember seeing this movie when it was re-released at Cinemark. I went to an 11:30 at night showing of an American Werewolf in London, and I was by myself. And, of course, the movie theater is empty. Now, you've seen this movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You know the very end scene where David, the main character, he's a werewolf. He's full-on wolf mode. He transforms into this werewolf like for the final scene inside of, granted it was it was an adult movie theater, but it was still a movie theater. There's a scene where the theater attendant, while the usher walks into the theater to see what all the commotion is about, and he sees this werewolf standing over a mauled person, blood dripping from his fangs, everything else, and he just has this snarl. And I'll tell you right now, leaving that movie theater by myself, three seats from the front, as a grown-ass man, I ran fast as hell, dude. Like, I burst through that door into the hallway. Oh, 1 second. Here we go. Burst. Oh. Sorry, so that's not my battery is apparently dying on the laptop here. But I burst through that hallway door, scared the shit out of some poor girl that was just vacuuming the hallway. And there was no way to play it cool. There was no way to play that off. She looked up at the marquee that said American Werewolf in London. She looked at me. This girl's like 19 years old. I'm like, at the time, 35. I burst into this door and she's just staring at me like, yeah. Like I said,
this old man's a coward.
I just looked back at her. I told her, I was like, listen, if there's a werewolf, I would totally throw you in front of him to protect me, okay? Oh, man. Good times. My God.
Now, there's...
this will always... What?
I was going to say, there's a movie you haven't mentioned yet that I've been waiting for you to get to. You just keep, like, moving around it, like you're avoiding it.
Is it on that list?
Yeah.
Here, give me a second.
I think it's the only one you haven't mentioned.
The Comeback Trail?
Okay, that's another one you haven't mentioned, but it's not the one I'm thinking of. The Comeback Trail.
Right, give me a second. Let's see. In the Heights?
Yes. In the Heights.
I thought okay, no, I guess I did skip that one. Okay.
Arguably the one I was looking forward to seeing the most.
What's that?
I'm gasping right now. Gasp. Okay. Have you heard of the smash hit musical Hamilton?
Oh, yeah.
Well, before Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda
I can't stand it.
Created... What?
I can't stand Hamilton. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Hamilton is not a musical to me. It's a damn opera. It's two different things. I don't like operas.
More like a hip opera?
I barely even like Repo, a genetic opera, and that's a rock opera. I don't really even care for... well, I can't say that. Okay, I do like one, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I really did enjoy that, but... everything else is just kind of... But, I mean, even then, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is more of a musical than it is of an actual rock opera. So, but go ahead. And In the Heights is the one I was talking about with the grandma dying. In the Heights was what I was talking about with the grandma dying, not West Side Story. So I think I meant to mention the Heights, In the Heights, but I, just...
well, before Hamilton...
I was talking about the trailer.
Lin-Manuel Miranda made another Broadway show called In the Heights, and this is the big screen adaptation, not like they did with Hamilton, where they just put together some footage from some shows over the years with the original cast. No, this is full movie adaptation, a la Grease and West Side Story, all of that. And I was really, really looking forward to it because I enjoy the soundtrack.
Okay.
And now I have to wait until June when I should have had it in June.
Yeah.
This year, next. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. It got pushed back. I'm disappointed, but it's gonna be on HBO Max, and I did definitely want to see this in theaters to show my love and support for Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I mean, come on, it's if it's on the Max, I got a system hooked up to the TV. I can get some good sound out of it, and I just got the new 4K TV and bought in the hopes of upgrading to a PS5. Unfortunately, all of my hopes were dashed as they disappeared from the planet immediately every time they went on sale. So, long story short, I might just wind up streaming it, and I would love to go to the theater to see it, but people are at the theater, and I'm not a fan of those. So,
yeah. You see, there are movies that I kind of want to shift this conversation a little bit here to movies that weren't just pushed back, but movies that were in fact just released onto video on demand. That I believe are still slated at some point. Some of them are thinking about. I think some studios are thinking about releasing them in theaters when theaters open up. But there's one movie I saw. I don't know if you got a chance to see this yet. Judd Apatow's movie, The King of Staten Island. Have you seen it?
I have not seen it.
Absolutely amazing film. But I mean, it was announced in early 2019. And the cast kind of like came together like April of last year to make this movie. It was filmed and it was released, pretty much to video on demand in June of this year. First off, the movie is absolutely, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful movie. And had it costs a little less money, because this movie has, what's his name? Pete Davidson, Bill Burr, Marissa Tomei, Steve Buscemi, and his daughter Maud Apatow. It's got people that have been in stuff before. The movie cost $35 million to make, and outside of salaries, I cannot imagine how that much money was spent on this movie. But still, $35 million. Through simply video on demand, this movie raked in $40 million. So, not much of a success. I mean, the investors made their money back, and the studio made $5 million off of it. But this goes back to our conversation earlier. Movies that are released directly onto video on demand, yeah, granted, fans of the directors or the franchises or the actors, in some rare cases, the writers, because writing a movie and like the movie being filmed, unless the writer is directing and producing the film, chances are it will have the basic fundamentals of the script will be put into practice in what you see in the screen. But writers like Christopher Marcus, who was one of the writers for Captain America and other Avengers movies. It's a well-known name in Hollywood for the sake of Marvel franchises. But this is a movie where I think, honestly, if they were to go back and release it next year, because it was such an obscure title due to its release on video on demand, just with it being a Judd Apatow film, with all the success that he's had with The Trainwreck, Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin, This Is 40, Funny People, Heavyweights. These movies that Judd Apatow had either written and directed or just simply written, even movies that he's produced. This movie would probably rake in like a nice little sizable chunk of money if it's released in theaters when theaters open back up. So, you and I are members of this group on Facebook called Movie Addiction. And I'm sure you've seen the bouts that people have with each other over, well, no, you should never, it shouldn't go video on demand. It should go strictly into theaters. They shouldn't release them because that'll be the death of theaters everywhere. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think video on demand services, if they want to pay, if I don't want to say completely cover an opening weekend, but if they want to pay for that privilege of having a first run movie on their service, then by all means, I am more than happy to stay at home and watch it. I know at some point, I wish I remember what movie it was, but HBO and Amazon were kind of going back and forth on it. I think the bidding was like $200 million right now to get this movie, just this one movie on a platform. I wish I remember what it was. So the idea that a movie can be released in theaters and on demand, I love the idea, especially the way they did it this year with some movies where it was you paid a premium price to catch that first run flick. When it came to renting it on Amazon, you get it for 24 hours or 2 viewings. I don't remember what it was, but you still wound up paying like $20, something like that.
Yeah,
but what was also cool was in the particular case of Bill and Ted, the much awaited third movie from Bill and Ted. When it was released, I believe it was $20 to rent, or you could just buy it for $25.
Yeah,
that was
a
no-brainer for me. I spent the extra $5.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, and that's the thing about the movies that they're releasing onto video on demand. They make it so expensive that you go see a movie in the theater, you're paying for 2 tickets, you're paying about $20, right? Roughly $20.
Mm-hmm.
You go by yourself, depending on if it's a matinee or something else. And depending on the theater franchise itself, your matinee may only be and I want to say only, but I remember when matinees were like $3.50 when we were younger.
Yeah,
back in the days when Liar came out in theaters.
The dollar movie days too.
Dollar movie days. But the thing is by today's standards, you're paying around $7.50, $8 maybe for a ticket. Some places maybe $9 per ticket to go see a movie. So the price gouging for it to go on to video on demand, these are other things that have to take into account because, again, the studios are trying to recoup their finances on releasing these movies. Bill and Ted Facing Music was released because it was made as a love letter to fans. It wasn't like a desperate grab or anything. It might have been for, what's his face? The guy that played Bill. Alex Summer, is that his name?
Alex Winter.
Well, I knew it was a season. Alex Winter. Alex Winter. Maybe for him it might have been a little oh, I'm in a movie again. But God, so I feel like an asshole for saying that. But the thing is that to hike the price up to rent it, it's $20. You want to buy the movie? It's $25. Well, if I were to pirate the damn thing, it's free. Not that I would, but it's just that's how people will look at these things. So I'm sure Bill and Ted Facing Music, I'm sure tons of people saw this movie. I don't even think it did that well as far as the box office draw goes. Let me see. Bill and Ted VOD sales. Let's see. Yep, it's okay. The film scored $32 million on video on demand, and for its small release, that's super small release, it made $3.3 million in theaters. So, I mean, it didn't do horrible, but it's kind of
made
been
its
like
money
a
back and then
sleeper.
some.
Yeah, it was kind of like a sleeper hit for the summer. Like, I mean, it was just like kind of like a sly, like, under under the radar thing. I mean, and the budget was 25 million for it. So, okay, it didn't have that big of a budget. So, $25 million for this film. And so overall, you're talking as of to date, 34.3. I'm sorry, $35.3 million. So it had a $10 million profit. It's kind of like in the same field as King of Staten Island. Now, I'm sure if King of Staten Island had a theatrical run as well, I'm sure it would have done phenomenally. Right there with Bill and Ted Face the Music. But now imagine if Bill and Ted Face the Music gets re-released in the theaters when theaters open back up, and I'm sure it might. I'm sure it will be like a massive hit.
I don't know. They've tried that before with the releasing it on home video first. You might recall. Okay, this is a bad example, but they did try it. Do you recall the original Left Behind movie with Kirk Cameron?
Yeah, that doesn't count. No, that absolutely does not count. Those movies. There was a movie that came out a few years ago, Fireproof, I think it was called.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Actually, I don't know if it was Fireproof. It was oh God, let me see real quick. Kirk Cameron cop movie. Courageous. That's what it was called. Courageous. This is a movie that came out 2000. No, oh God, when was this? It was 2011. First off, the movie sucked. Okay.
Well, it was
And it was written by the guys that wrote. Well, I know. I'm just saying it was written by the guys that wrote Fireproof, but these movies aren't really like a Hollywood kind of thing. Like Kirk Cameron's films are strictly independent films for the most part. Not a huge fan following because let's face it, Kirk Cameron. I was talking about AMC guy earlier being pompous. Kirk Cameron is not only pompous, but he's also holier than thou. So, with that being the case, let's see, Courageous. But at least these movies have the right idea, because Courageous budget was $2 million. The box office draw from it was $35.2 million. This goes back to what I was saying with like with the King of Staten Island.
Yeah, people line up for
Judd
their God
Apatow
movies.
made that movie. Huh?
People will line up for their God movies.
Well, there was a movie I went to go see with my old man and his ex-wife like years ago. And let me see real quick. This is going to sound really bad. I'm going to read out what I'm typing into Google out loud here. So this is, if you're listening, don't get offended. It is literally what this movie is about. Religious movie about a girl who survived an abortion. October Baby. That's what it was. October Baby. Not a horrible movie. I will say it's not a horrible movie. I remember my dad talking so highly about this film. But this is a movie that didn't do too well in the box office. I guess it did okay for what it made 5 times rather its budget, but the budget was only $1 million, so the box office was 5.3 million. But my dad calls me. He shows me this trailer on YouTube, and a few days later, he's like, "Oh, you want to go see October Baby?" I'm like, "Is that the movie about the abortion that survived?" He just looked at me like, "Oh, well, yeah." I'm like, "Okay." I guess we're going to go see this movie. But it's like, it's one of these movies where it's, I don't know. They're so preachy. I had a point to all this. No, that's right. Left Behind. Wasn't the sequel of Left Behind that had a theatrical release and a straight-to-video release too, or is it just the first Left Behind with that Kirk Cameron was in?
I think the original Left Behind movie came out on video first. And in interviews, Kirk Cameron was quoted as saying, people will watch it and then tell their friends, and then they'll go see it in the theater.
That didn't happen.
No. Which is crazy. Well, and
then they tried to revamp it with Nicolas Cage.
The Left Behind books, I don't remember the author's name. It's a couple of guys. They actually they skirted the edge of mainstream popularity. They were right there, and I read them. I love a good series of books, and even my like super Christian-y friends were like telling me, just remember those are fiction. I'm like, that's why I'm reading them.
Oh my God. Well, no, it's like the thing is like these. Well, even like I was gonna say with Left Behind, they tried it again with like they're like, oh well, the original wasn't that great. What we need A-list actors. No. Get Nicolas Cage.
And then let's not make this anything like the book at all.
No.
Oh, another one of those Nicolas Cage needs to pay his taxes movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, Nicolas Cage should have taken a line from the Joker back in the 90s, where he says flat, like, where he's like getting all of his money together, and it's like, what's all this? Like, I'm paying the IRS. I might be crazy enough to go up against Batman, but the IRS, no, thank you. But no, but it's like, but you had these movies that, as I said earlier, like all the ones on the list that you put together, most of these movies, I can almost guarantee that just through the fan service alone, and especially now, basic re-releases don't do typically all that great. They just don't. They get like a small little draw at the box office, right? But when you have movies, when theaters are closed nationwide in most places, and people are not able to go do stuff right now, Long Beach, man, Los Angeles County, for that matter, is on a full-on lockdown. Full lockdown. No restaurants, no bars, no nothing. Minimal services are open. I think you can go get your nails done because that makes sense. You can go get your hair cut because, again, that makes sense. But there's nothing to do. The theaters here have not been open in months. In the film hub of the world, movie theaters are not open. No premieres have taken place.
Except in Florida.
Oh, no, I'm talking about I'm talking about in the film hub of the world. Los Angeles, Hollywood, where people go like worldwide. They travel here to be like a star in something, whether it's music, film, TV, what have you. But my point is that the theaters in this city have not been open in months. Not even at like a limited capacity. They have not been open at all. Not a single one. Now, that being the case, when all these other places that are in the same boat as us, when they finally open up, you're going to have a mad rush. People that want to go see a movie, kids that want to go see a movie. You know, like people such as myself who want to go see shit with or without a person next to them. I mean, you're going to have people that want to go see shit, like, again. So when movies open back up, you could easily put these movies on video on demand and then re-release, in my opinion, re-release them. But like, I mean, people have this fear that theaters are going to die in this whole thing. But summer releases are summer releases because that's when all the kids are off and they're all home and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just like I think it's safe to release a lot of these films on. But I mean, mainly it's also the studios. They want these films to be enjoyed the right way, but at the same time, certain movies are kind of looking at being like, well, we can release this. Fuck it, we'll just put it in theaters too. We need to make this money like now. Like Wonder Woman 1984. That movie's been hyped up for a long time now.
And I'm going to enjoy watching it in my living room.
Yep. And Jason Reitman, if in the rare chance you ever come across this and you have listened to this particular episode this far, do the right thing, buddy. Video on demand that shit. You got it. What would Harold Ramis say?
He would say, I want people to see my movie.
Exactly. I would die if they didn't say... Oh, wait. Joking. That was horrible. That was... God.
You know, that seems like a good note to end on.
Oh, that's great. The joke that killed the show.
Well,
it's not like we have any listeners to that anyway. So,
unfortunately for everybody, even though 90 minutes of awesomeness is awesome, for some reason, I have to work on a Saturday.
Wow. Okay. So this week, that's okay. You hang up. I'll drive the show home.
Okay, just don't forget
just
to press
shut everything down. You just shut everything down there, buddy, and I'll talk into a microphone in Los Angeles that isn't recording any sound.
I could put a 10-year-old behind the boards if you want. She'll get it shut down.
I don't think that she wants to. I don't think you want me to say what I'm going to say, like in front of your 10-year-old. So that's fine. Well, we can end the show.
Well, then you need to tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
That's fine. I guess they've had enough awesomeness for one night. We don't want to expose them to too much because they can go blind, and audio-related awesomeness can make them go deaf. So let's not do that to them. Because you know what, everyone? We love you too much for that to happen. We need your hearing to be good for our next episode. So you guys can follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/bjacksman82. You can follow us on Instagram. Instagram, it's just the Wadcast. Look for that little black picture with the white banner in it that says, guess what, Wadcast in it. And you can also find us on Facebook. The Facebook link is in our Instagram page, but it's facebook.com/the Wadcast. Once again, you'll know it because it's a black picture. It's got a white banner there. It says Wadcast. And it has writers, actors, directors underneath of it. Or you can follow me on Twitter. Not that I ever use Twitter for a damn thing. I don't care about tweeting. I tweet like I text. I don't. So, but you can find me under You Can't Ground Me. So, and that's all I've got there. Or you can look me up on Facebook under Brandon Junk. Junk is my last name. I didn't choose it. My mom had sex with a man whose last name was Junk. She married him. I was born, and I've just had it ever since. Can't shake it. So that's all I've got. Josh, go ahead. What about you?
Well, as always, you can find me on Twitter at SkidComic or at Semicore Studios or at Wadcast Pod. That's right, all three of those accounts, I will answer any of your questions, comments, or illicit offers. Sorry. Or you can go to SemicoreStudios.com to find all of the pertinent links and information, like the Facebook page where people are watching live right now. And we'll be able to do so every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, as we do the Wadcast. You could catch us live, join the comments, make some snide remarks at our awful jokes. Actually, I think our jokes are pretty awesome. And
I like her jokes.
Be a part of the show. Or, if you are listening to this on a delayed basis, you could always like and subscribe and give us a rating. Maybe leave a little review. Let the world know what you think of the Wadcast. That way we can move up in the algorithms and more people will be able to hear our fantastic voices. Now, why is that important, you ask? Well, when you start, making some inside jokes about the show when you're at work, you want everybody to understand what you're saying. So get everybody on board with the podcast and make sure none of your jokes go over their head. I think that's fair.
Yeah, little Bobby at work would love to hear some jokes about abortions that didn't survive in movies after his wife left him and had one of her own.
And that's a Bible movie.
It actually is.
So any final words for the good boys and girls, Brandon?
Well, let's go back to the Bible movie about abortion that was, produced by God. Hey, Lord. God giveth and God taketh away.
God greenlit this crap? What, too far?
I don't have any final words. I thought I was forbade from offering final words, though.
Well, there's a difference between final words and the final message.
Oh no! You just go ahead and you do the final stuff. I just kind of exist.
All right, then I guess it's that time. Okay, music's playing. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for listening to the 33rd episode of the Wadcast. It's been a pleasure having you around, so I'm going to leave you with this thought. You are the only thing standing in the way of your dreams. Sometimes there are other obstacles, but as we've heard tonight, it's all about finding solutions, and they're not always that difficult. If a disease stops production on your movie, it'll pick up again, and that release date gets pushed back a little bit, but people will still see your movie. So think about that. Look for solutions to your issues, and don't try to add more hurdles to your own path. There are plenty of other people that do it for you. You don't need to be one of them. So until next week, I'm Josh, that's Brandon. This has been the Wadcast.